Welcome to the Planet B podcast, where truth, transformation, and faith converge. Join us as we flip the script on ecological despair, guided by Dr. Sailesh Rao's vision for a compassionate, rewilded vegan world. Let's begin the journey to the greatest transformation in human history.
Welcome to episode 11 of the Planet B podcast. Today, we're going to take an in-depth look at setting context in time. Dr. Rao, we're welcome to have you once again.
Well, thank you for having me. Thank you for this opportunity to speak to all of you.
Oh, it's been so fun, and we hope people have enjoyed the first 10 episodes. And here we go into a little bit of the history of how human beings have played this integral role with nature over time. So, Dr. Rao, would you like to start with the opening quote of chapter 11?
Yeah, the quote is from Father Thomas Berry, and he said, "The earth is not part of the human story. The human story is part of the earth's story. The problem is we have tried to tell the human story without telling the earth's story. And to tell the earth's story, you have to tell the sun's story." So it's like the sun is not part of the earth's story. The earth's story is part of the sun's story. We have been trying to tell stories backwards. When you go the other way and you start telling the story as if the earth is part of the solar system, the sun is part of the Milky Way galaxy, and humans are part of the earth. So then you see the human story within the earth story, and you see the earth story within the sun story, and you see the sun story within the Milky Way galaxy story. And then everything makes sense. You begin to understand our role, you begin to understand why we have to play this role at this time, and we understand why the earth wanted us as a species to play this role right now.
That's beautiful. So, can you share more about the scientific evidence that humans have been an integral part of nature for thousands and thousands of years of Earth's history?
Yeah, I begin with yoga, right? So yoga is a spiritual way of looking at things. It says that separation is a delusion. Yoga is unity, right? It's about union. It begins with the presumption that separation is the delusion. You have never been separate from nature. You have always been a part of nature. Okay? And that is factually true, because we breathe in air that the trees breathe out. So we are so intimately connected with the rest of the world, rest of nature, that if that nature goes away, like you suddenly someone drops you off on Mars, you say, wait a minute, where's my oxygen? Where's my food? Because all that we were getting from nature here on Earth. So understanding that, moment by moment, that you have always been a part of nature, you are always a part of nature. And you know that that is scientifically valid, just from the input-output of human beings, and our systems. And then you try to place that within the context of nature, and then place nature within the context of the sun, and what is happening to the sun. The sun is going through atomic reactions on the surface. There's lots of nuclear fusion happening, and things are getting warmer and warmer over time. This is how a star like that behaves, right? We know that from science. And as the sun gets warmer and warmer, the habitable zone around the sun keeps moving out further and further. But the Earth is in a constant orbit. It doesn't change its orbits quickly, right? So which means the habitable zone is moving further and further out, and the Earth is getting closer and closer to the inner edge of the habitable zone. A habitable zone is a zone where liquid water is found on the surface of a planet. Mm-hmm. So there are models for saying, okay, where will the habitable zone be? And so these models are telling us that we are very, very close to the inner edge of the habitable zone around the sun. So which means that life is getting more and more complex. Life has to become more and more complex to adapt to the more and more stringent environmental conditions for life to thrive. And we are part of that complexity. that life is calling for in order to maintain its well-being. So life always wants to thrive. So we have to begin with that, right? So what is life? Life wants to live.
Yeah.
Right? We are just part of this major nature that is life. As a part of that, we are creating that complexity to help nature thrive at the inner edge of the habitable zone around the sun. And that's what my research findings are telling me. And I tried to tell the human story as part of the Earth's story, and the Earth's story as part of the sun's story. The sun is just one ordinary star among, billions of stars in our galaxy. And the sun is going around the black hole at the center of the Milky Way galaxy, goes around once every 280 million years.
Wow. That's crazy.
That's the sun's year.
So as the Earth gets closer to the edge of the habitable zone, then essentially, because we're closer to the sun, it would become warmer, just in general over time.
Right. And you would think it's going to get warmer. But the way this system operates, greenhouse gases are creating the blanket for life to thrive. Because there were no greenhouse gases, the estimate is that the Earth's surface temperature will be 60 degrees cooler than it is today. So it will be frozen solid if there were no greenhouse gases. So you don't get that much sun, But because with the greenhouse gases, it's maintaining that liquid water on the surface. Now, as the sun gets warmer and warmer, the greenhouse gas blanket got thinner and thinner. And you see that in the record as well, because it gets thinner and thinner. And there is a strong correlation between temperature and CO2, even in the fossil record. Okay, CO2 is the main greenhouse gas. And now, over the last 3 million years, the CO2 levels have been going between 180 parts per million and 280 parts per million. So, which means that the CO2 level got to be so low that it's now very sensitive to small changes in the sunlight that's coming on Earth. And it goes and triggers between these two stable states. One is the glaciation, and there's a warm period between glaciation. So it's called the interglacial periods. So it's been doing that for the last 3 million years. Most of the time, the Earth was in a glaciation. We are in an ice age right now.
Which is crazy to think about.
Yeah, we are in an ice age. We are in the interglacial period between two glaciations. But in this interglacial period, human beings have prevented the Earth from going back to glaciation 5,000 years ago. We did that by just burning down forests, using fire to heat up the planet.
Right.
Okay. And now we have been given the opportunity to stabilize it and maintain it so that the Earth does not ever have to go back to glaciation again. So Earth is now very sensitive to slight variations in the sunlight that comes down to Earth. She's asking us as a species to actively maintain the temperature on Earth at this stable state. Okay? That's what we are understanding that we have to do.
Right.
And then the Earth will not go back to glaciation again, because glaciation, the CO2 levels are 180 parts per million, so in the atmosphere, which means that life does not thrive. Literally, life becomes confined to the equator. All the rest becomes frozen solid. But then again, if you heat it up beyond this, so we have heated it up by 1.5 degrees Celsius compared to what it was 200 years ago. If you heat it up, it's not clear that there is another stable state. I mean, you cannot judge that based on what happened 500 million years ago or 200 million years ago, because the sun was different then. So you have to understand that the dynamics of the system that we are in. It's not about saying, oh, it was stable then. Because when you say it was stable with a CO2 level of 1,000 parts per million, 50 million years ago, well, it was a different sun then.
Right.
So when you make a statement like that, you're saying the sun has not changed. Okay. And then simultaneously you make a statement that the sun has changed and that's why the temperature is increasing. So people say these, inconsistent things. And I'm saying your story has to be consistent when you do systems analysis. So systems analysis is telling us that as the sun changed, as the sun got warmer and warmer, the earth basically reduced its CO2 levels until it got to a point where it was so sensitive, it was toggling between two states. Okay, and now it's using us to stabilize it. And once we join the earth and and understand that we are part of earth and we've always been part of earth and we have a role to play, then we can hopefully maintain this for the next few 100 million years. As the sun gets slightly warmer, it's going to get like 1% warmer every 100 million years.
Right. So essentially that means that over the last few thousand years, humanity has played that vital role in actually warming the planet to then give it the opportunity to create a stable state.
Correct, yeah. To maintain that stable state, to stay there in that stable state instead of going back down.
But now we must flip the script, we say. We can't keep warming.
Yeah, you cannot keep warming. You have to start cooling and stabilizing it. So stability is what we want. Right? Stability is good for life. Stability of the conditions. Right?
Right.
It's like having an AC in your home. So the earth is saying, create a thermostat so that you can maintain it forever.
That makes a lot of sense. So then something that you talk about that's really interesting that some people maybe don't know is this relationship between the CO2 and the water vapor from the soil and how that creates this blanket around the earth. Could you share a little bit more about that?
Yeah, the CO2 is like a catalyst for water vapor. So water vapor is the main heating gas. Water vapor can both cool or heat, okay, depending on whether it is condensed as cloud, in which case it can reflect sunlight back, or it can be a greenhouse gas and it can reflect infrared energy back down to the earth. But water vapor is temporary, whereas CO2 stays there permanently, right? So the CO2 does the initial warming permanently because it's there permanently, and then it gets water vapor to evaporate from the ocean or from rivers or from trees. Yeah. And that water vapor then does the amplification of the heating. So think of it as like the anode and the cathode of a battery, right? If you don't have those two things, you don't get electric current.
Right.
So if you say the electric current is caused by the fluid inside the battery, therefore I don't need these little things that are sticking in there, and you take it out, the battery doesn't work.
Yeah.
Right? You have to have that catalyst. And CO2 is the catalyst that causes water vapor to be in the atmosphere and therefore heat up the earth. So other greenhouse gases are also catalysts like that. They also amplify through water vapor, like methane does that. All of them, all the greenhouse gases do that. And cooling effects are all caused by molecules that reflect sunlight back within the visible region.
Chapter clearly illustrates is when we set context in time, it shows the scientific evidence of how humanity has played this vital role in getting to this critical point where we can stabilize Earth systems. So what are the things that we need to change to move into Planet B where we can help become part of this stable state for hopefully hundreds of thousands of years to come?
Setting the context in where we are today is an interglacial period within an ice age, which most people don't even realize we are in an ice age, right? And that ice age came about because the Earth's natural mechanisms for stabilizing the climate are no longer able to handle these variations. Like the natural mechanism is rock weathering, which has very large time constants. So those things happen over 100,000 years. Whereas we are able to change things within hundreds of years. So we create fast feedback. And therefore we can now stabilize the climate much more effectively than rock weathering and mechanisms like that. So we have to consciously do it. Right? And so setting the context of the human story within the Earth's story, how the Earth is now in the inner edge of the habitable zone, and within the sun's story, how the sun always gets warmer slowly over time because of nuclear reactions. And the sun is, going around the Milky Way's black hole once every 280 million years. So it's a very critical time in the Earth's history. Is the Earth going to survive and thrive for another 100 million years or no? Or maybe a billion years, who knows? Once we stabilize it and we hand it over to our children and grandchildren, we say, this is the story and you do whatever you want with this story. Okay, that's up to you. But we want to hand over a stable state because we always wish that our next generation lives in a prosperous environment. That's what every parent wishes.
Yeah.
A brighter future for their children and grandchildren. And we have a responsibility to create that and then let them figure out how they want to maintain. Because who knows what's going to happen? Science will advance. We will know more. As we know more, we may have to do it differently, whatever it is. But the intention has to be, we are here to serve all of life, and we are here to maintain prosperity for life.
Yeah, very beautiful. So Dr. Rao, as we wrap up episode 11, would you like to share any closing message with our audience today?
Basically, I'm an engineer who's trying to understand science. And I'm trying to tell this story from a scientific perspective. And then I realized that science and spirituality are coming together. This is a common story. So which means everyone is trying to align with the truth. And the truth is one, So thank you so much for being with us on this journey.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And please, everyone can download and read the book at climatehealers.org. The book title is There Is a Planet B. And we look forward to hopefully having you join us once again for episode 12, where we talk more about Quaternary Ice Age. So thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you soon.
This is a podcast from Planet B, where kindness isn't a niche lifestyle. If you haven't moved here yet, we thank you for visiting.
The house is burning, but we're still sitting in the glow. Phones charged, lights on, pretending we don't know. But the forest is silent, the river's running low, and the flame on our plates is the strongest fire we throw. Put out the fire, put out the fire. Echoes and rise, this is your hour. 7 boundaries broken, the earth pushed past the line. Climate, land, species, fresh water, chemicals, nutrients, oceans in decline. Not danger, disaster in real time. Put out the fire, ooh, put out the fire. Metafudians rise, this is your power. And here in India, one truth stands the same. Milk is not just milk, dairy feeds the flame. Cows and methane, fields and forests turn to grain. Politics, culture, carbon, all wired to the same chain. Every cup of curd is heat in the air, every block of butter is a forest repair. It's not a small habit, it's a planetary affair. Put out the fire. Ignorance is half the hurt, Dr. Rao made that clear. But food fixes the other half, the half that's burning here. Change the plate, change the land, change the future's atmosphere. Put out the fire, put out the fire. Metafoodians unite, this is your choir. Every millet, every fruit, every sapseed, every bean is water on the wildfire of a world we've never seen. Every oil-free bite is a river turning clean. This is not perfection, it's direction. Not pressure, but protection. A week of choices can cool a generation. A company's courage can ignite a nation. Put out the fire, ooh, put out the fire. Echoes and rise, this is your hour. Metafoodians unite, Metafoodians ignite, sharing love in the metazone, lighting the path to a cooler home. Put out the fire, ooh, put out the fire. Together we rise, together we